I'm 81 years old, and most days now, I don't leave my house. That wasn't always the plan. It just became the truth. I'm not telling this because I'm proud of it. I'm telling it because I finally understand why I'm here, sitting in the same chair, watching the same light move across the same wall every afternoon. When you get to my age, time stops feeling wide. It feels narrow, like a hallway that keeps getting shorter, no matter how slowly you walk. I don't have many reasons left to explain myself, so this isn't for me. It's for whoever is listening, still busy, still assuming there's plenty of time. Right now, the house is quiet. Too quiet, some would say. But quiet doesn't scare me anymore. What scares me is noise that no longer means anything. People think older folks stay at home because they're tired or sick or afraid. That's not the full story. Sometimes we stay because the world outside reminds us too much of what we no longer are. I wake up early, even though I don't need to. Old habits don't retire when you do. The kettle goes on. I sit at the small table by the window. Same routine, same cup, same view. The street looks busy from here. Cars passing, people walking fast, talking into phones, carrying things that look important. I used to be one of them. In my 20s, I thought staying home meant you were giving up. Home was something you returned to after you'd done something worth mentioning. Life happened elsewhere. I worked hard, not in a heroic way, just steady. Office job, long hours, promotions that came with more responsibility and less sleep. It felt reasonable at the time. Everyone around me was doing the same thing. We compared hours the way people compare scars. Who stayed later? Who missed more weekends? Who was indispensable? I told myself I was building something, a future, security, respect. All words that sound solid when you're young. I married in my late 20s. She was patient, too patient, probably. She learned early how to eat dinner alone, without complaining. We talked about trips we'd take later, about slowing down later. Later became a word we trusted too much. I didn't feel like I was neglecting anything. I felt necessary, needed at work, relied upon, useful. At home, conversations became shorter. Not cold, just efficient. Updates instead of stories. I missed small things. Birthdays that could be made up for with gifts. School events I assumed wouldn't matter much in the long run. I thought presents could be postponed, that love could wait without changing shape. It doesn't disappear all at once. It thins. In my 40s, the house felt less like a place to rest and more like a place I passed through. I told myself this was normal, temporary. When my children grew quieter around me, I blamed their age. Teenagers, I said. I didn't consider that maybe they'd simply learned not to expect me. By the time I noticed the distance, it already had weight. Distance, once it settles, is hard to move. There were moments I could have chosen differently. I see them clearly now, which is cruel in its own way. At the time, they felt small. One late meeting instead of dinner, one weekend project instead of a visit, one tired excuse after another. None of them felt like a mistake. They felt responsible. Time has a way of charging interest. You don't notice the cost until it's grown larger than you can pay. The first real crack came when my wife got sick. Nothing dramatic at first, just fatigue, missed appointments. I still went to work. I thought I had time to adjust, time to show up properly once things stabilized. They didn't. She passed quietly, which sounds peaceful until you realize how final quiet can be. The house changed after that, not suddenly, gradually. Rooms lost their purpose. The table felt too big. Silence stopped being a pause and became a condition. Friends checked in for a while, then less. Then birthdays were remembered with cards instead of visits. I didn't blame them. Everyone is busy building their own later. When I retired, people congratulated me, asked what I'd do with all my free time. I didn't know how to answer. Without work, the days opened up, and I saw how empty they were. Not relaxing empty, exposed empty. Going out started to feel awkward. Restaurants full of couples, cafes full of conversations I didn't belong to. Even parks felt like reminders. At home, nothing asked me who I was now. The walls didn't expect explanations. So I stayed. At first it was practical. Then it was comfortable. Then it was deliberate. The outside world began to feel louder, faster, less patient. Inside, time moved at my speed. People think staying home means hiding. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's the only place you can stop pretending. I don't need to explain myself to my chair, or to the clock that ticks no matter what I do with the day. But comfort has a cost, too. Isolation settles in quietly. It doesn't announce itself. Days blur. Weeks fold into each other. Memories become louder than plans. The turning point came when my eldest stopped calling regularly. No argument, no fight, just life moving on without me. I realized then that staying home hadn't just protected me from pain. It had made me easier to forget. That's a hard thing to admit, harder to accept. Some things cannot be repaired by effort once enough time has passed. You can't suddenly become present retroactively. You can't show up for moments that are already over. I missed chances to be known fully, not because I failed, but because I delayed. That's the part people don't warn you about. Delay feels harmless, until it isn't. Now, when I look out the window, I don't feel envy. I feel distance, like watching a story I once belonged to. Staying home has become a kind of holding pattern, not waiting for something to happen, just keeping what's left intact. I speak to the neighbors politely, briefly. We all seem to understand boundaries better at this age. Loneliness isn't dramatic. It's steady. It sits beside you without demanding attention. There are moments of gratitude, too. Warm tea, sunlight on the floor. But gratitude doesn't erase sorrow. They coexist. If I'm honest, staying home is where my memories fit best now. Out there, I'm reminded of everything I didn't finish. In here, I can remember things before they thinned. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I'm not telling you to change your life. I wouldn't know how to do that even if I wanted to. I'm only saying this. Don't confuse being needed with being present. They are not the same. And don't trust later too much. Later is fragile. If this meant something to you, sit with it for a moment. That's all. I don't have many years left. I'm not sad about that. Just aware. Tomorrow, I'll wake up early again. The kettle will boil. The light will move across the wall. And I'll sit here, at home, understanding at last why this is where I ended up.